We arrived in Johannesburg, South Africa, after an 11-hour flight from Frankfurt, Germany. Immigration took about an hour, but at least this was air-conditioned. Then we had a pre-arranged driver to take us to our hotel in a nice part of Johannesburg. Even though we got there at 10 o'clock in the morning, they had a room for us. There's the pool, and Stu had a nice drink. There's a view from our room. Certainly a lot more foliage than I expected. Johannesburg is the largest city in South Africa with over 4 million people. Johannesburg was founded in 1886 after they discovered gold. They have the largest gold resources in the world, and today is one of the world's leaders in gold mining. Unfortunately, after the mining, these mountains of gold mine tailings are left. Soweto stands for Southwest Townships, an area southwest of Johannesburg. Soweto was created in the 1930s when the white government started separating blacks from whites. In 2002, Soweto was incorporated into the city of Johannesburg. This local resident is going to be our tour guide.
To get RDP houses, only those who qualify, because we do have illegal immigrants staying in this area who don't qualify to get those houses. Start with the solar system only to warm the water. And they're not allowed to build shacks around these houses. Then people complained to say that the members of family are more, so they need to build more space for them, and where they just come and buy and then leave. This is the area where Mr. Mandela used to hide and disguise.
This lady is telling us about Desmond Tutu while standing in front of his house. He lived a block from Nelson Mandela, both Nobel Prize winners, and that's where we're going next.
Not born yet. He was born in a tiny village called Mvezo on the 18th of July 1918. And his father was a chief, and he had 4 wives and 13 children. Nelson Mandela was the first one to attend school in his family. At the age of 7, Nelson Mandela attended a primary school near the village of Koon.
Here's the Mandela house in Soweto, and over the window is a bullet hole that was fired while he was in prison. These pictures are all taken inside Nelson Mandela's house. Of course, there were lots of souvenirs for sale to the tourists.
Go and present the memorandum to the then Department of Education. While they were still waiting here at this corner where the first student died, by the name of Hector Peterson.
In 1976, government in South Africa required that all instruction at school would be in Afrikaans, which is a Dutch language. The students objected and took to the streets. Police responded and shot several students. One of the first was 12-year-old Hector Peterson. In the early 1990s, a memorial was built to Hector Peterson and others who were killed, and it was erected 2 blocks from where he was shot and killed. In 2002, the Hector Peterson Museum opened behind the memorial. However, no pictures are allowed inside. But very interesting museum. Fairly nice looking houses, but up to 8 families in one of these houses.
They've got on the one, talk about churches in our houses, and also got on the left a tent which is used as a church on the left hand side.
Saturday.
And just behind the mall there's these minibuses. They carry about 14 passengers. Here to Johannesburg you pay about 12 rands, because before you used to have a lot of accidents and they were caused by the driver who's counting the money for the pass.
There's a whole carload in there. This lady's getting her hair done while she's on the phone at a street side beauty shop. Then we had lunch at this restaurant, and first we stood in line to wash our hands before we went inside.
We've had enough now of Tandi, so we're just going to kick her off the bus.
And after lunch, we dropped off our delightful tour guide, drove around a little bit more, and then later returned to our hotel.
Maybe it's just too hot inside, and so people in Soweto tend to live outside their houses in the streets, whereas people in Johannesburg tend to live inside their houses. The other thing also to remember or to be aware of is the security. Most people in Soweto have a wall or a fence, but walls are preferable at the moment, and that's a fairly recent.
They have walls with
very high security
fences
all the time in Johannesburg. Now, it is a function of various things, by the way. Up here on the right, you'll see the plastic tree, the pine tree. Out there to the right, it's a cell phone tower. It's also bright yellow, but what they've done here is to water quite a lot with recycled water, sewage water, but it's been treated. They plant
away the
a kind of
poisonous
grass
chemicals.
that grows for 2 or 3 months and then dies. It's tough, very hardy desert sort of grass, but it leaves nutrients in the soil, and then they've got another grass that they plant after that with seeds, and that's got a slightly longer time until eventually you get a climax grass or this papyrus or whatever, these things.